Welcome to the Inspiration Hour with Luz and Mac, as we inspire by sharing real people's stories and their exhilarating journeys. We all learn by sharing our gifts and talents through the power of talking with one guest at a time. Get cozy, get your favorite nighttime drink, and let's get ready to be wowed with inspiration.
Buenos días, mi gente, o buenas noches, mi gente. How's everyone doing? This is going to be another wonderful inspiration hour with Luz. I am so happy to be with you and share with you one of my good friends and guests that I'm welcoming to the show. So her name is Luz Sanchez. She's so special in so many ways, and you'll see when I read her bio, because I'm going to talk to you about someone that is like an expert in so many areas that one can't help but wonder, like, how did she do it? Like, you really going to think that, like, how did she do it? So let me tell you a little bit about Luz. And the cool thing is, like, she's my tocaya. Tocaya is like meaning like someone has the same name as me. I'm Luz. She's another Luz. So it's going to be full of light in here. So Luz Sanchez is from Mexico City. She now lives in LA, and she received a bachelor's degree in cinema and TV arts, and is also a distinguished Toastmaster and a yoga instructor. Besides that, she's collaborated in 2 books, and 2 of the books are Women Who Rock and Life Boost. She's also an author of Stolen Identity and What to Do When It Happens to You, a book on identity theft that she recently published in the pandemic, and you can find it on Amazon. And also she completed the Women of Achievement pageant in the international category for Miss Elite Mexico, and also completed that during the pandemic in 2020. Some of her hobbies is cinema, hiking, singing, dancing, reading, and writing. But she's not just that. She's just an amazing, very spiritual person as well. So without further ado, let me welcome Luz. Luz, are you there?
Yes, I am here, Luz.
Welcome.
It is so amazing to call somebody Luz, because my name is Luz as well. And I know that you are light.
Oh,
I am so grateful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And let's start this inspiration hour.
oh no, the pleasure is all mine. And you know what's so funny? When I first met you, I was just so happy to meet another Luz. One is like, you know, living in the United States, not so many people, especially Latino people, have the name Luz anymore. I feel like it's just like from an older generation. I don't know if you agree with me in that, because a lot of people have the more like, I don't know how to say it, but you know, you just don't meet a lot of Luzes, right?
I agree. And I think that's, due to the fact that I am from Mexico. And my mom is not really from Mexico. My mom is from the little towns of Mexico City. So she emigrated to Mexico City, and then I migrated to the United States. So yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, like, what was it that made your mom named you Luz? I'm just curious now.
My mom said that, in Mexico, women are matriarch. How do you call it? Matriarchal?
You know, you got it. Matriarchs.
Right?
Yeah.
Matriarchs, yeah. And my mom was basically the head of the house. And she not only worked, she tried to give us an education, but she used to fix everything in the house. She was like the handyman in my house. And one time she was fixing the electricity. And she was pregnant with me. She was 7 months pregnant, and she got like, I guess, this electricity shock.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah, and she didn't know if I was going to survive or not. So she named me Luz because of that.
What an interesting story. You know, I'm always curious about people's names and their origins. I was named after my grandmother. Her name is Luz Maria Morel, viuda de Salcedo. She passed away when I was 16, and I was very close to her. So, I mean, that was it. My mom's inspiration was to name me after her mother, which at that time, it was pretty significant that if you had a child and you had a girl, you'll name them after like someone significant in your family.
That is so
If
true.
it's a boy, like the father or someone significant in their family, family. Also, which is very common in my culture, being Dominican, and I'm sure you could relate, being from Mexico, is naming your children after saints. You know, because we really
Yes.
want to make sure they're holy, like the
Yes.
holiest of holy.
They
There
are
was
holy
always,
anyway.
I always have a name, kind of like a joke, you know, because I had an uncle who passed away. His name was Santo, and I'm like, wow,
Wow.
he was Santo, but he was really a devil, like in disguise. He was such a troublemaker, and everyone laughed at. You know, he was kind of like a cool, like kind of like one of these cool guys that make you laugh all the time. But anyway, I digress. But you get what I'm going. Like, there's a lot of unique aspects to our names, and they really define us. And I really think you were named appropriately because since I met you, you have like such a calm and like laid back demeanor, and you're like always seeing the, you know, the positive in things, no matter what.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
wanted to know, like, you have such an interesting kind of like resume to you because you've done a lot. What was it that got you started and decided that you want to get into cinema? Like, what was that spark of inspiration in your life?
Yeah, I fell in love with cinema when I watched a black and white film in Mexico. I was 7 years old. The name of the film is Macario. I don't know if you have ever seen it. It is
No.
about a yeah. It is about a poor peasant that his only dream is to eat a chicken by himself, and because he's very very poor, right? And we were very poor, so that was like the I related right with the film because they were so poor. And to this person, God appears to him, the devil and death, right? The Green Reaper, and he decides to share his chicken with the Green Reaper. It is
Oh
a
my
very
gosh.
it is a very interesting story because you wonder, right? Why would he wouldn't wanted to share his chicken with God? But yeah, so that is like what sparked my first interest in cinema and film, and just started wondering myself like how do they do that, right? Like as a young age, I was always very curious about things, so that was just like my first entry into this world that I didn't know because in Mexico, there's only the classical careers, and my mom wanted me to be a secretary, but I had something right. Yeah, right. I didn't want that.
That's so funny.
Mhm,
My
yes.
mom wanted me to be well, I can't really say that she knew exactly what she wanted me to be. She wanted me to go to school. That was a fact. Like
Mhm.
whatever you do, you have to go to school. And honestly, like to many immigrant parents, like that's the biggest dream. Your kid's going to college. Like that was it. Like finishing
It is.
college, we don't care what you pick as long as you finish a degree. But, you know, now that we're all a little bit more, you know, have more an understanding how college works and the other types of careers available to you, that's when we start thinking differently. Because I'm sure your mom is very proud about what you accomplish.
She's very proud, and actually, she tells me that why I chose to do the hardest things, because for her everything that I do is very very hard, and it is hard. It is a hard career, and
Yeah.
I just wanna say about what you just said right now about the culture, right? That it is important for us children to have an education, but it is also important to be to have emotional intelligence, not only academic intelligence, but emotional intelligence is crucial in all of us and for our children.
No, I agree because I say this when I speak to my friends, like, because where I work in a hospital, and I work with a lot of doctors or people that have PhDs in data science and all these different types of specialties. But sometimes they do things that, makes me look at them odd, like these individuals, because like they lack the social cues sometimes to know what's appropriate and what's not. And it's because of like the basis of lacking emotional intelligence on how to interact with others, or the things that you can or cannot say. Like it's not like one blunder is like a domino effect of things like they didn't realize. But I also think that has a lot to do with just like also exposure as well. Like it's a combination of two. Like you have to be exposed to see how people should act at all times to know what to do or what not. But that has a lot to do with culture and upbringing. I wanted to ask you, when you got curious about cinema, was that the same time you thought about doing a pageant, or how did the pageant come about? Because these are like two distinct loves you have, and you're active in the cinema world. Like, what are you working on now?
Okay, so there's like 3 different questions right there.
I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to talk to you. I can't help it.
Okay, first of all, the cinema, right? So I studied cinema when I came here to the United States. Okay, it's a long story actually, because let me tell you, I come from a very poor background, obviously, and everything has been a lot of obstacles for me. But since I was in a very young age, I was very aware of a lot of things, and I knew that I had to be the role model that I did not have. And that's the reason. And also the other thing is because I live in a macho world. My father didn't want me to have an education. My uncles did not want me to have an education.
Wow.
Yeah, I was expected to be a housewife, have children, and not to go to school, and work at a very young age. So
wow.
I was so upset about it. I was so upset that I just had this fire within myself, and I said, I didn't really know where I was going. I didn't know I was gonna do all these things. I just let life take me by the hand. I listen. Throughout our lives, right? There's certain turning points, and those turning points take you in a different direction. So for me, there are different turning points in my life that took me to, to show me. It's like it shows you the North Star in your life, right? Yeah. Let me just tell you about the pageant thing. When I was 15 years old or 14, I was like 14 or 15. I wanted to be in a pageant. I was in Mexico, and I saw this, right? The neighborhoods have pageants over there. Pageant is big in Mexico, right?
And it's very common in many parts of South America, not just Mexico and the Caribbeans. Because I remember when I was little, there was like this big flower carousel event, and I wasn't in it, but I had a march behind the carousel with flowers in my head. I was only 4.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, I asked about a pageant about that time, and this person told me, "Do you have money? Is your family in politics?" And I said no. And then she told me, "Then you cannot compete." Like something like it was a very harsh reality that I was confronted at that moment, that I just forgot about it. I didn't really think that I was gonna be in a pageant anymore ever again. We're coming like from the back all the way to right now, right? Like last year, 2 years ago, I was presented with the opportunity. I met the director of the Woman of Achievement pageant, and she interviewed me, had a conversation. I didn't want to compete, actually.
Why? Like, this was your dream.
It was my dream when I was 15 years old, but I forgot all about it. So I thought about it, and I said, okay, why not? why not? I'm gonna do it. And definitely this really changed me a lot. Being in the pageant, having a platform to talk about, representing Mexico is Mexico America, right? Representing Mexico America, both countries. It was huge. It was huge for me. And actually people start seeing me different too.
They
That
did.
was
I could
the
see
main thing.
that.
Yeah.
Because you went through the pageant experience, you were able to advocate for yourself and kind of like speak about the two things you wanted to represent. In that pageant, I think there's a lot of, from what I read, you have to pick a focus to do social good, right?
Yes. Yes.
Did I read that correctly?
Yes. You did.
Can you share what was your focus? Because I think that's the beautiful part about this pageant. And you have to remember that a lot of pageants really focus on different avenues, like showcasing a country, showcasing a culture, and things like that. But I really admire that it was focusing on a social good.
Yes, at the beginning, I thought and I wanted to talk about domestic violence, but I know that a lot of women already are talking about domestic violence, right? And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because my mom was a victim of domestic violence. My house was hell. My father was an alcoholic. So we really have to work a lot in trying to survive, right? But then I decided to talk about my field, which is cinema, and I talk about underrepresented women in media, which is also very important because if you see, and there's many studies right now that show that women are still not represented, specifically, obviously, women of color. Just there are few. There's like one time I read I was in the university and there was this frame on the wall that said
Luz? Luz? Are you there?
can you hear me?
Yes, now I
Oh,
do.
okay.
Sorry, I
Okay, I don't
lost
know
you
what
for a
happened.
second.
Yes. Okay, so I read, like I said, I was at the university and there was this frame in the wall that said that only 4% of women were directors. That was in
Wow.
2011. Yes, that was in 2011. And you know those little things, those little moments where maybe like a dimension, right? Like a different dimension opens for you and it touches all the way to your consciousness that you get an aha moment. I had an
Yeah.
aha moment like, oh my God, this is not good, right? Like if I don't do something, like I knew that I had to do something, right? And I'm gonna do whatever possible. I'm still working. I'm still a work in progress, like I said before to you in other
Yeah.
occasions,
And
right?
one of our phone calls, you did say that. And it's so funny because, and I'll say this in Spanish. I always tell people, aquí se pelan los plátanos. That's like my saying. And it's because I try to make people understand, like, just because you see a movement in my needle of my social media, it doesn't mean I'm still not working hard or struggle. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
we're all a work in progress. So I agree with you so much in that saying. And thank you for sharing your aha moment, because that aha moment is the reason why you're in cinema. Like, and you are like one of the few women in media, because I do know about those numbers. They're really bleak. And that's why we see like the movies and the shows that are like number one, they're very few made by women,
Yes.
and especially Latinas,
Hmm.
you know. So kudos to you for that. And you're working on a project now, right?
Yes, right
And
now I
so
am working in two projects.
how does it feel working on two projects simultaneously?
Well, I am taking turns. Right now I am trying to figure out, right, which one is a priority. I recently, okay, so the first project is a sci-fi, is all kids, is Hispanic kids.
Oh,
It's
that's
called The Train.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's called The Train. And I am the editor for both of them. That's one of the projects. And the other project was filmed in Mexico. It's called Cien Años. And obviously
Oh,
about a woman that couldn't get married with the love of her life because
Cien años
she
de
was forced.
soledad.
Yeah, she was forced by her parents to get married with another person. So
Mm-hmm.
she waits all the way until she's old to go and find her love.
Oh
It is
my
a
gosh.
Yeah, it is a beautiful story. It's in Spanish.
No, I know that. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of it is based on the book, right?
Actually, this
Pero,
one is not based on the book. It's a
but
different story take,
but
right?
it's a spin to it, like a different spin, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. You're describing the story, and I'm thinking of my favorite. One of my favorite bands is Maná, and
Yes.
and there's a song called "En el Muelle de San Blas,"
Mm-hmm.
and my husband, I have to say this, he's African American. He knows Spanish. I got him into that song.
It's
It was
beautiful. It's a
just,
beautiful
it's a
song.
beautiful song,
And sad.
and it's sad, but it's very, it has like a very moving story to it. Wow,
Yeah.
that's so crazy. Luz, I'm so happy that you're working on these projects, and I can't wait for them to be out. Can you share when they'll be out, or do you think this is going to be like like a project that's probably still in development and being,
Well, I am. It is in post production right now. I'm in charge of that. So I hope that I have the first draft finished by the end of October. I'm trying to work fast and have this done as soon as possible. And I just want to add something for the people that are listening in the way of San Blas, right? This song is about a woman that forever she waits forever for her love to come back,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes, that's true. I should say that about the
It's
song.
okay.
I just got really excited.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's a woman that I think her love goes to war or something, and he goes off to sea, and she promised him that she'll wait, and it shows in the music video that she's still waiting
Yeah.
for him, even as an old lady, and people used to call her crazy.
Yeah.
And she'll wait for her love like that. So it's really sad, but it's really touching. If you see the video, you should. And I know that song has never been translated, but it's still very moving.
It is.
Wanted to kind of know how you got into writing. I know you collaborated in a couple of books, and wanted to know, how did that come about? Did it had a lot to do with you meeting in your field other creatives that are not necessarily in cinema but are writers? So I think it's really interesting that you have so many passions, and one of them is writing.
Thank you. Well, let me take you back with my writing. I was 17 when I used to write a lot of poetry, songs, stories, and somebody at home burned all my poetry, all my stories, all my books. I don't know who it was. I felt like I was dying. I felt like I died, actually. I died for a long time. It was devastating to me that somebody could do that. It's like somebody burning all your work, burning art, right? And I didn't know right for a long time until I came here to the United States. My studying English as a second language classes, because when I came here to the United States, I did not speak English. At that
I
time, when I
relate
was,
to that.
yeah, when I was, yeah, definitely, right? Anyway, so when I was studying English as a second language classes, one of my teachers said, you are a storyteller. Your stories are important. Keep writing. It was like a fresh air to my talent, right, or the gift that God has given me. So I kept on writing here and there, but nothing important, right? Like I journal a lot. That's one of the things that I usually do. I have like 20 notebooks of journals that I have written. Everywhere where I go, I always take a notebook with me because you don't know when a strike of inspiration is gonna come to you. So you gotta be ready to write it at all times.
Do you read back on what you wrote, or you just write it and just save it?
What do you mean?
Like sometimes a lot of people that journal, they just journal for like, let's say a good 10 minutes, but they don't read what they wrote. They just save it because they got it out of their system. You know what I mean? Like they got out of their system all the ideas they have in their head. And now it's kind of like, since they put it on paper, they feel like they have clarity on how to move forward.
Yes, I go back sometimes. All depends if I want to revise, because you always gonna remember when you write something meaningful, right? Or
Yes.
I don't know about, right? You remember, right? When you wrote something meaningful. So then you go back, and sometimes I just read back to myself. Oh my God, like, did I really wrote that at that time? It's really powerful. It's really meaningful, and it's profound. So because if it's that, then you know that's something that you grow has value. Sometimes I share some of those things on my social media, some of the things that I have written, but I make it better, obviously, right? Because sometimes when you write, let's say there's a strike of inspiration that comes to you and you write very fast. Sometimes it's not well written, right? But if you go back and revise it, then you can make it better later on.
And I actually like the mistakes. I love the mistakes because it happened. Like that's, to me, like a mistake is just like a benchmark letting you know it happened, you grew from it. So if you made it better, I could almost know your feelings when you write something with a mistake, like, ooh, that was there because you were getting all those emotions out of your head and heart, if that makes sense. And just perfecting it and like reading it and rewriting it again. Like when I write something, I go through so many drafts, at least 10 drafts, even something that's simple.
Exactly. As a second language speaker, I always work as 10 times more than a native speaker, because I want to make sure that I am writing correctly. And because I know that English is not my language, that's why I need to work harder than everybody else. I don't know, maybe people really, right, native speakers also work 10 times harder to have a good writing. Who knows? It's up to each person. And just let me continue with how I came out to work on these two books that I wrote. So I was married for 9 years, and this marriage was lots of narcissistic abuse. So when I got out of that marriage, I felt that need, right, that I want to transform my life. I have always worked on myself. I have always moved forward, right, in some way. It doesn't matter how it is, how bad the circumstances, or how bad things are, right? Everything is on me. And because I take that responsibility on myself that I need to move forward, it doesn't matter what circumstances, then that's how I went to this event, and there was the opportunity right there, right? And every time there's an opportunity, I take it. I jump on it. I don't even think about it. I jump on it. So that's what I did with these two books. The first book, that was an opportunity. I jump on it. I wrote my chapter. It was published. I read the book, and it was full of inspiration, because it was all these stories, right, about all these women and their struggles, their trials and tribulations, and how they got to the place where they were. And that was the inspiration to me. So I said, oh my God, I am in this book with all these women. That's right. It just felt amazing to me that I was able to put my story there as a Hispanic woman, right? Because I don't really hear that many Hispanic stories to tell, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And as a writer, sometimes I have to admit there were many moments that I felt lonesome in the space. So I really relate when you say that you didn't see a lot of Latina women writers. I'm glad there's many more now.
Yes.
Like, you know, there's a lot of writers, and I'm actually, I joined this writer salon through Dominican Writers on Sundays, and I've met a lot of aspiring writers that are doing a hell of a job, like amazing work. We need to have more resources like that, you know, because they're hard to find. And you know, I heard someone say this on Sunday. Writers aren't born, they're made. And it reminds me of that old commercial from CoverGirl, like something like that. Like, I'm being silly with it, but honestly speaking, maybe writers aren't born, but I think life and experience and the more we practice our craft, that's how we're made. Because my first book wasn't a hit, let me tell you. Yeah. I got better through the process of writing. Mm-hmm. And that's how writers are born. So I'm sure these two experiences of writing these books have kind of given you a little taste for it. And maybe, who knows, you'll write something on your own and you'll be the author of the whole book, not just a collaborator.
Yes, I was a collaborator on 2 books, and then I had to write in 2019. I had to write this book on my own, which is the one that you talk about. It's called Stolen Identity.
Stolen Identity, yeah.
Yeah, what to do when it happens to you. And it is about that, and it's a small book. My identity was stolen in 2019. It was a very ugly experience. Let me tell you, I had to write it because when I tried to find out information about it, there was no information or huge books on information, right? So one or the other, or nothing, or huge books. Who has time to read a huge book when you're going through something like that? Nobody.
No, you just want to resolve the problem. Yeah.
Exactly. So what I did is, through my experience, which was 1.5 years of the experience resolving my own case. I was my own detective because the one detective told me that the chances of me resolving that situation was minimal, and the chances of me or them finding the criminal was like 0. So I wrote it, but not only the criminal was found.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yes.
That's amazing.
Let me tell you, it was like a movie. The person was chased on an RV. She crashed with a lot of people. It was very difficult situation, especially I felt it, right, for all those people that had suffered the consequences. Not only me, it was me, the corporations, because she bought that RV with my credit cards, and the people that she crashed and had injuries. It was a tragic situation, and that was tragic for many people. Yeah, that was for many people because it took a long time to resolve. But thank God that this person is no longer hurting any other person out there.
Good. Yeah. Oh wow, that's amazing.
Right?
Not only you wrote the book, went through the horrible ordeal, and like are helping individuals to kind of like people that find your book how to beat it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
your detective told you it can't. You know the chances of you resolving this issues is very bleak. That's
yes.
awesome. Like you're a
hmm
testament.
Exactly. And it was God too, because I was in prayer, and I literally felt like I was being tested. Literally, I had that feeling like I've been tested, right? I even had different situations during that time that I would find animals on the street that I have to save. Like, I had this raccoon that I don't know if somebody poisoned him or something. I don't know. He was on the street. He was just spinning out, and the cars were just hanking on him. And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Like, people don't know. Like, seriously, like if you see a confused raccoon on the street, which they only are at night out, and he's on the day very disoriented, you gotta do something. I don't know, like for me, I always say, you gotta do something. You gotta do something, and you gotta change things. We cannot wait until somebody change things for us. We got to be the change. We got to be the person to take the initiative to do it. And that's me.
I see that, and not only do I see that, but I feel it. I feel your passion. Like it's palpable. And I could see that that's how you've been living your life, through this passion. It's been driving you, from people who told you can't study, you have to be a housewife, to going after you wanted to study, which is hard. Cinema is hard. Being one of the few Latina women that are working on amazing projects, writing books, and like changing and collaborating on some amazing projects with other women. Wanted to know, what advice do you have for those who want to follow in your footsteps? Because you're truly living by example, and it's just inspiring.
My advice would be to work in oneself, just like that saying, there's a saying, right? Or there's an expression that says, know thyself. Knowing ourselves is knowing others, but working also in the traumas, the patterns that we have to cut, right? That are no longer serving us. Patterns, generational patterns that our family have passed through generation and generation to their mothers and grandmothers and uncles and right fathers. Like, I don't want my son to be an alcoholic, like my father was. I don't want to be only a servant like my mom was, because my mom, right, I mean, there's nothing wrong with serve, but sometimes it, they are they taught us to step on our dignity. And no, we want to keep our dignity. We gotta keep believing on ourselves. And if we have a dream, if we have a vision in our mind, trust me, God has given you that vision for a reason, and you gotta follow it, and you gotta trust it, like way deep in your heart, and just go for it. Don't even think about it. Don't listen to anybody. I seriously, if I could have listened to people in my path, the people that I had before, because now obviously there's different kind of friends that I have, right? You're finding little by little, you're finding the people that inspire you, and it helps you move forward. So
A lot of things you're saying are like touching me so deeply, and I hope it inspires everyone that gets to listen to this episode, because it is, I feel like I'm sitting right next to you, and you're hugging me, and you're holding my hand. Yes. You're like, listen to me. So I want you to know how powerful your voice is.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to move the conversation to something, yes, a little bit more light. I usually end the episode asking, playing this small game called Finish the Sentence. I'll say like a statement, and you could let me know what pops into your head. And we could start with the first one. It says, my dream vacation is, and let me know.
Okay.
Italy. Oh my gosh, that sounds romantic.
Yes.
My honeymoon was in Italy.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah, it was in Amalfi Coast, Positano and Capri. And I always wanted to go to Lake Como.
Wow.
I can't live without
I want to
something.
see art. That's the reason for Italy. Books. I cannot live. I cannot live without books.
Oh, that's a good one. I already put on my little Amazon cart like 2 books I'm waiting to get as a pre-order.
Right? I have so many books. Oh my God.
One of them is Neruda on the Park, or Neruda in the Park by Clavies. I forgot the author's last name, but it sounds like a great book. My favorite food is, like, what would that be? What's your favorite food?
Of course, Mexican cuisine, but I love Mediterranean food too.
I do too. I've been really into like the kind of like the steamed fish with the vegetables and that like cream sauce. Oh my gosh, that's
I'm
my
getting
favorite.
hungry now.
I'm sorry. I'll stop.
It's okay.
My biggest inspiration is
My children. I want to be the role model that I did not have. So I want to be the role model for them. I want them to see that there is this strong person that never gave up, that always did the best, and obviously connected to God.
people describe me as
Not a quitter, but you also need to know when to quit and change your direction.
ooh,
That's a huge lesson. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. You know, we have a lot in common. More than you think. I was a victim of domestic violence. And it's something I don't really share quite often because the father of my oldest is an alcoholic, and it's something that he's not a horrible human. He's actually, a nice person, but obviously not a good person for me. And through lots of therapy and lots of meditation, I did, get better, and I survived that experience. But
I'm so glad.
You talked about, abuse and people saying things you couldn't do, and it reminded me a lot about my own past. I had people that didn't think I was going to amount to anything, and
same for me.
I just want to say, like, your vulnerability and being so strong to share that tough past is just not only beautiful, but it really gives me courage to talk about it in such a healthy manner. And I thank you for that. And for anyone that is going through that, you're not alone, and that is not going to define you.
Exactly.
And Luz, to me, like, the word that I was going to use to describe you is your name. Is you are a Luz, you are a light. And I hope that light that you keep shining, that it will never be dim, that you continue shining brightly. If you could happily share with us where we could find you and how we could support you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I want to say that I'm sorry, and I'm sorry for all those people that are women or men that are going through that. You can get out of it. Take the decision, get out. And I'm just feel the same way about you, Luz. You are Luz, and keep on shining. I really look forward to see your stories and what you're doing, because your work is magnificent and is very needed in our community, in our culture. Many kids, I'm sure that they would be so delighted to read your books, and I'm just pray for you to make all your dreams come true. And yes, you can find me. My Instagram page is Luz with 3 C's Sanchez. No, it was taken, so I had to make it like that.
I know what you mean. That's why I started putting on my Instagram, like Luz Mac. You have to add the extra M's. But thank you again for being here tonight. And thank you, everyone, for listening and tuning in. Have a blessed night. And thank you, Luz, for being our guest.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
good
much.
one.
Blessings.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
That brings us to the end of our Inspiration Hour with Luz, and I hope you're feeling unstoppable. If you enjoy our show, please follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Luz Mac Official, or check out my website at www.luzmac.com. Review, like, and heart us. And don't forget to spread the inspiration with others. And be sure to come back next week as I help you find your inspiration in the little things, one talk at a time.
You're listening to Jerry Roycelive-worldwide podcast.